Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of Love and Hate. This is a new segment in which I will suggest two albums to a guest, and the guest will suggest two albums for me. We will pick one album we think the other one will love, and one album we think they'll hate. We'll talk through our choices, we'll see if we guessed correctly, and we'll see who comes out on top. To help me kick off the segment today, we have the wonderful Lee from Lee Likes Music. If you haven't already heard of Lee and his channel, please go over there, check it out. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. Please subscribe, please give him some love. He's a very talented dude, makes excellent music-related content. So welcome, Lee.
Thanks, man. And thank you so much for the very gracious introduction. I can say the same things about you. Please, guys, go and subscribe to Offbeat. It's still called Offbeat, right?
It is still called Offbeat, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. I went on a hiatus, but the name didn't change. So thanks again for helping me kick off the segment.
Yeah, no problems.
So I've sent you two albums, you've sent me two albums. Shall we start off with one of the ones I sent you?
Sure. Well, you predicted that I would like Tice Eagles' album Melted, and to be honest, I hated that album.
For real? Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But why did you think I would love it though?
I don't know.
Curiosity.
In past discussions we've had, I don't know. I just had a feeling because you're quite into Queens of the Stone Age. I know you're very much into in this kind of stoner rock, desert rock. And I'm a big fan of this album, and I was quite confident actually that you would like this. So it's a bad start for me, but talk a little bit more about what you thought about it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, to be honest, I didn't listen to it as much as I could do, but I guess that was my overall first and second impression. I listened to it a couple of times through, and I think I've actually listened to it some time before as well, like maybe half a year ago or maybe longer ago, because I've always known that Tice Eagle was a very big name within the. He's from Los Angeles, right, or California?
I believe so. Yeah.
So he's a very big name within that scene and that whole garage rock scene that suddenly started to take off there during the. I think it was the mid 2000s or something, or maybe earlier. I don't know, but that has become like super popular during the last few years, right? And I don't know. There was just something about the stuff that he made, also the stuff that the OCs, for example, they're sort of in the same genre, I guess, as Tice Eagle. There was something about that scene that just really captivated me, and I don't know. I watched some documentaries of this guy, and it just made sense that this is maybe something that I'll get into, because I do like garage rock. Like you said, I'm very into Queens of the Stone Age. They kind of fueled that whole garage rock movement that came during the early 2000s as well. Only that they were far more popular, of course. Same with the Strokes and. The White Stripes and stuff like that.
For sure.
While Tice Eagles has kind of been a slow burner, I guess, for most people. He was like a hidden gem, I guess, for a lot of people.
He's a little bit more underground, kind of, than compared to Queens of the Stone Age. Yeah. So was this the first Tice Eagles album you've listened to?
No, I've listened to which other ones? There's this one album, or maybe it's an EP. There's an image of like some garlic or something in a frying pan on the cover.
Oh yeah, I haven't actually listened to that one. Funnily enough.
Okay, but that one is actually an album that I think is really good. So there are stuff about Tice Eagles. There are things that he's made that I find to be very interesting and good. But it was just this album. Out of all the albums, this is the one that is the most popular. I think. Of his albums, so it's a little bit strange that I didn't like this, but no.
Okay, wow. So that's a bad start for me, because I was just I don't know. I had high hopes. of this one, because in my head there are these really distorted, fuzzy guitars, really riffy, catchy riffs throughout the whole album. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, like in specifically what I didn't like about the album was that I felt like a lot of the songs they had a certain charm, but I felt like they were so there was much of the same all the way through the album. And sometimes I felt like because I don't necessarily have anything against lo-fi music. Lo-fi can be pretty nice, and also fuzz is I like it once as long as people use it in an original way, you know?
Yeah.
But here I just felt like it was just a bit too much. Sometimes it was a bit too noisy and a bit too lo-fi, so it kind of became a gimmick of itself almost, that, you know, you listen to those first few songs, maybe 2 or 3 songs, and you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting.
Okay.
But then you listen to the rest of the album and it's like, okay, it's all the same. You know, that's what I felt, to be honest.
I can get. And do you think going forwards, this album has any hope? Do you think if you revisit it again, that you could like it a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think that's the thing about most albums that you dislike, to be honest, because like I said, I've only listened to this 2, possibly 3 times, and there are certain times when those albums that I really hate turns out to be the albums that I love the most in the long run. So I never know. I can never know. You know, I just have to give it more time and give it another chance.
Yeah, maybe we'll do another rematch in 1 or 2 years, and you end up loving it. Who knows?
You wanna talk about the one that I thought you would love?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
So you suggested Tomahawks.
Mit Gas or
Yes.
Mit Gas?
Yes.
I think maybe it's German or something.
I'd never heard of this group before,
Okay.
so it was completely it was a fresh experience for me. I have to say, I didn't love it.
Drum roll. Oh, fuck.
I didn't love it. But
You're just saying that now because I said I didn't love Tice Eagles, right?
no, I promise you can check my notes. I swear. But I didn't love it. But I understand the thinking behind it. It reminded me of early Queens of the Stone Age, when they were a bit more rough around the edges. They weren't as clean and polished. The production, especially, it was a bit more really raw. I felt this Tomahawk was. And for ages, as I was listening through, I was like, this singer reminds me of someone, but I have no idea who. And then it was only like when the last track finished, I was like, oh, it's Trent Reznor. It reminded me a lot of Trent Reznor. I don't know what you make of that. Huh. Does that make any sense to you, or is it just me?
I've never thought about that. I've never made that connection, to be honest.
I think it was just the quality of his vocals, and I think some of the effects they put on the lead singer's vocals as well just reminded me of some of Nine Inch Nails stuff. But that said, I'm not a Nine Inch Nails enthusiast or expert, so it's maybe just this, I don't know, subconscious connection I'm making.
But I can see some similarities. I mean, I wouldn't really tie such a deep connection between their voices, because I think Trent Reznor has a very authentic voice, and Mike Patton, you know, the vocalist of this band, he has a really authentic voice as well. So I feel like there's a lot of things that separate them.
Yeah.
I feel like Mike Patton is the better vocalist if I had to choose one of them. Just based on skills. I don't think it shines that much through on this album maybe, but if you listen to some of the other bands that he's been a part of, other albums, like I don't know if you researched this or if you read something about this album or the lead vocalist Mike Patton, but he's been a part of so many bands like Faith No More and Mr. Bungle.
Okay, yeah.
So, and if you listen to some of those albums, some of the vocal performances he has in those other songs, it's amazing the kind of range he has. It's just the most amazing range. And but my point is, I can understand why you make that connection, because they both want to call forth a very heavy atmosphere with their music, and I guess that's where they can connect the most, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I did see. I was surprised to see that Patton was did some singing on Mr. Bungle, but I also saw that the drummer John Stania, he's also in Battles.
Oh, wow.
Which
I didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's why I was surprised, and he as well. I think his style is totally different to Battles, which is a band I really love, and I would never have guessed it was him. You know, if at the end of the album someone told me like who would you say is on drums? Like, can you recognize this style? No idea. So yeah,
you hated that album.
I hated that album.
You hated it, but you know.
Yeah, it's not full on hate because this is it's not full on hate, but I certainly didn't love it.
Yeah, okay. But was there anything in particular that did stick out to you, like other than his voice and the drummer and?
I would say the overall aesthetic and the production. I'd say. I like that. I like that a lot. I think when I mentioned the similarity between the earlier Queens of the Stone Age albums, it's mostly just this raw, really thick sound that I like. And I think the album does have potential in the future. If I revisit it, I think there's certainly hope for it. So we'll have to include that in the 1 or 2 year anniversary of this episode, just to see where we're at going into the third round.
Yeah, so Snail Mail. I actually hated this. So yeah, you were totally right on that one.
Nice.
Yeah, Lush by Snail Mail. I've never checked out Snail Mail before, and I guess that was the premise of this whole podcast thing, or this idea, just to expose each other to music that we haven't listened to. And yeah, I guess this was the album that I listened to the least. I guess I had to put Melted above Lush if I had to choose which album to listen to.
Yeah,
I don't know, there's just something about Snail Mail, and there's these other bands like Chastity Belt and these girl groups. There's something about them that is it's just not original, and it's just so boring. And I don't know exactly why I feel that about these girl groups. Like, I have other examples too, like what's the name of that band again? Can't come up with it right now, but there's tons of like these indie rock groups that basically just play indie rock. Girlpool is another example. I don't know if that was the one that I mentioned, but Chastity Belt, Girlpool, Snail Mail. I there's just something about these bands that, they're songs, but they just don't stand well on their feet in a way.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of songs, and there's nothing original about it. It's music for people that are just growing up now, that are in their teens and discovering rock music, and maybe they listen to a classic band, like classic indie rock band for me would be Foo Fighters, for example. Or maybe you wouldn't call it indie rock. Maybe they were more indie rock in the past, but now they're more alternative.
Yeah.
But whatever. But that is a classic one, and then you have these young kids who discover rock music that come out today, and then they maybe find Snail Mail, and maybe that's great. Maybe that's a good introduction to indie rock for them. But there's nothing here that I haven't heard before in a way. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's
very, very boring.
That's pretty much the same kind of notes I had. It was, but I mean, I don't know if you researched it, because this, I believe, was received very well by certain publications. It got a lot of attention when it was released last year.
But what are they saying that is so?
Well, it was positive criticism, which made me listen to it, and I was the exact same. I found it unoriginal, uninspiring. I felt like I heard it before. I felt like I'd already listened to this album, and it was, as you said, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's part of this scene and this genre that's becoming really saturated, and it didn't stand out at all. So I didn't even I don't know. I mean, I didn't even revisit the reviews or the or the articles really, because I was just like, yeah, I don't dig this.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, this was really open shut with me. I listened to it. I was like, yeah, I don't like this, and I don't think I will ever like this.
Yeah, but there are a lot of new indie acts out there that are really good. There's this one girl, I keep forgetting her name, Bridgers something, I think. Yeah, Phoebe Bridgers.
Okay.
I think she came out with a new album. Yeah, it was not last year, but the year before that, Stranger in the Alps. That
Okay.
is a really, really amazing record. It's a mix of indie rock, some folk, some acoustic guitar stuff in there, and that's really good because
Yeah.
I feel like there's much more emotional depth.
Yeah.
For some reason, it feels like her lyrics are more relatable and they just hit you immediately, which is really good. So I would highly suggest maybe checking out her stuff instead.
Okay.
But of course, I mean, I don't want to tell people to not listen to Snail Mail, but for me, that is a better example of what she is doing or her band is doing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you have other stuff like, let's see, David Basson. I don't know if you've heard about him.
I don't think I have.
No, okay.
No.
But he's also very into this indie rock scene, and he's been doing it. He's been grinding and working for like ever since the 90s, but he's still very underground.
Okay.
But some of the newer albums that he's made are just, yeah, mind blowing because the lyrics, there's something about the lyrics that really stand out and that you, I don't know, I really highly resonated with it. So yeah, Phoebe Bridgers, and David Basson.
Okay.
Think those are way better, to be honest.
And the album you thought I would hate was the Weeknd's Starboy.
Yep.
And it's gonna be a tie because I did hate it.
Oh.
And then,
Okay.
as I was listening to it, I was thinking, yeah, Lee got me good. Like, this is a really good guess.
Yeah.
This I didn't enjoy it. I listened to it maybe 2 or 3 times, and each time it was more difficult to finish it.
Yeah. It's so funny. I had the exact same experience when I listened to it when it came out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that it's weird that I listen to him, but I think some of his stuff is really good. Some of the songs on that album are amazing.
Yes.
Like Ordinary Life, Starboy, the song I think is actually pretty good.
Yeah. I like True Colors as well.
Yeah, okay, that is one song that I really don't like.
Oh, really? Okay.
I guess it's pick and choose, you know.
Totally.
He's and one song that I just found myself listening to over and over again. I think it was the song that I listened to the most in 2018, like in total.
Oh, wow.
Was Secrets.
Okay.
I think.
Wow. Okay.
If you listen to the bridge in that song, it's almost like it sounds like Tame Impala. It's.
Yeah. I get that.
Do you know what I mean?
I totally get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's guitars in there and there's some weird effect on there and yeah.
Kevin Parker wasn't involved in the production, was he? Because
I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
Because he sometimes does these credit. He has these credits on these more pop albums for people. No, that makes sense.
But I had the exact same experience as you, though. I enjoyed some of the songs, but like I would never ever listen to the whole album all the way through again because there's so few high points and there's so much space in between those high points, you know?
Yeah, because it's a long album, isn't it? It's quite long for what it is. But I mean, there were some cuts that were slightly better than the others that kind of stood out, if I wanted to say stood out. And I think as a vocalist, as a singer, he has a good voice. It's just not a voice to my taste, really.
Okay.
I quite enjoyed Kendrick's verse.
Yeah, the Sidewalks song.
Yeah. But when the verse finished and Weeknd started singing again, it just kind of provided a contrast between two vocalists that one which I really love and one which I just can't get into. So yeah, this was really a very good guess. I hated this album, and I felt like you were punishing me in a way, making me listen to this 2 or 3 times. So, wow, pretty even.
Have you had any other like podcasts with anyone else at the moment, or am I the first one to?
You're the first
this
one.
Is the first.
You're my first.
Oh, okay.
You're my first. Cool. And you never forget your first. So I have some planned for the future. A few other music YouTubey guys. Yeah. What did you think of this? You're the first person to be on Love and Hate. How was it?
I think it's pretty good. I always love to just create in general, so it's very hard for me to say no to stuff like this. And you know, it's really nice to just communicate with someone who has the same perspective, or either like different perspective, but at the same time have the same passion for music, you know?
Yeah.
Because then you always I always find myself in these conversations. When I am in these conversations, I always learn something new, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I get it. And YouTubing can be quite a solitary life, you know.
Yep.
You spend a lot of time researching and editing and doing stuff. So it's nice to just find a platform that's a little bit more relaxed and open, and you can just discuss about music.
It's I think, you know, this whole YouTube, you know, this content thing, the whole art of creating content. I think there's a lot of thought that goes into that, but you gotta find the right way of putting yourself out there. And for a long time, I was just in front of the camera, and that didn't work, obviously. But I'm struggling to find the exact right way to share myself, because, you know, what I'm doing right now is more information based. It's more facts around the artists. It's more about the artists than myself, right?
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, I think. I mean, I'm basically putting my passion and my knowledge in the center of the video. It's not about me, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
But it would be really nice to find a balance between those things, I guess.
Definitely,
Find a way to maybe sprinkle some of my personality in there as well.
Yeah.
Although I'm not the most charismatic person, but, you know, maybe I'll find a way. Who knows?
No, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Naturally, something will come about. A kind of a balance will come about, because you do need the human element, the human input, and that's why I think people's fan bases grow. You know, because they appreciate the content, but they also respect the content creator. I think, at least. I mean, who knows for sure. Lee, thank you so much for coming on and being the first participant on Love and Hate. We'll have to do something else in the future at some point. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure, Dan. This was awesome.
Well, I guess we need a rematch.
Yeah,
we'll have to do round 2. If you want to check out Lee's content, I will link his channel in the description below. If you thought this was good, if you thought this was bad, please let me know. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.